Chosen one, listen carefully. You thought your silence went unnoticed. You believed your absence meant nothing. But heaven says, everything changed when you stepped away. They laughed when you left. They whispered when you fell. They celebrated when you disappeared. But they didn't know they were pushing away the very covering placed over their lives. You have cried in rooms no one saw. You carried battles no one understood. You questioned why betrayal followed you like a shadow. You wondered why doors slammed shut just as you arrived. I allowed your removal for a reason, not as punishment, but as positioning. Now the atmosphere around them feels heavier. Peace left when you left. Favor dried up when they rejected you. They are searching for answers, and your absence is the question they cannot escape. Stay alert. What you are about to witness will reveal why you were chosen, and why your separation was never a loss. Chosen one, you called it rejection. You called it heartbreak. You called it humiliation. But I called it rescue. There were rooms you begged to stay in, conversations you prayed would continue. Relationships you tried to hold together with bleeding hands. You thought losing them meant losing your place in the world. You thought their departure meant you were not enough. You questioned your worth every time someone walked away without explanation. You wondered why loyalty flowed from your heart but rarely returned. What you could not see was what I could see. Behind smiles, there were hidden intentions. Behind invitations, there were silent assignments against your peace. Some environments looked safe, but carried traps designed to drain your spirit, confuse your purpose, and delay your destiny. You were standing in places that celebrated your presence publicly, but competed with your soul privately. You thought they were your people, but they were rehearsals for your discernment. So I allowed the distance. I allowed the silence. I allowed the doors to close even when you knocked with tears in your eyes. Not because you were unworthy, but because you were too valuable to remain where your spirit was slowly suffocating. You cried at night asking why everything you loved seemed to leave. You replayed conversations in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently. You blamed yourself for storms you did not create. And while you were mourning what was lost, I was protecting what was inside you. There were paths ahead that required clarity. There were blessings waiting that could not survive around certain energies. There was a version of you forming stronger, wiser, and spiritually alert. But that version of you could only be born through separation. Understand this. Chosen one traps rarely look dangerous. They look familiar. They look comfortable. They look like acceptance. If I had allowed you to stay, you would have slowly adapted to environments that were designed to shrink your voice, dilute your calling, and redirect your destiny. I did not remove you to punish you. I removed you to preserve you. Every person who walked away, every opportunity that collapsed, every place that suddenly felt cold was part of a divine interruption. I was breaking cycles you didn't even know were forming around your life. And now, even though the silence still feels heavy, you are breathing differently. You are seeing differently. You are sensing truths you once ignored. The loneliness you feel is not emptiness, it is space. Space for clarity. Space for growth. Space for divine alignment. One day, you will look back and realize those rejections were not losses, they were escapes. You were not being abandoned. You were being extracted from battles. You were never meant to fight and cages. You were never meant to live inside. You are still here. You are still standing. And most importantly, you are still chosen. Trust the separation. It was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to lead you safely toward the destiny that has been waiting for you all along. Chosen one, I saw every battle you thought you were fighting alone. I saw the nights when your mind became a battlefield and sleep felt like a distant memory. I saw the weight on your chest when fear whispered lies you could not silence. I saw the moments when you smiled in public, yet felt shattered where no one could see. You called it stress. You called it bad luck. You called it emotional exhaustion. But it was war. There were forces that recognized your calling long before you accepted it. There were shadows that studied your potential, hoping to weaken your confidence before you ever stepped into your purpose. The heaviness that followed you, the sudden confusion, the unexpected betrayals, the constant discouragement, these were not random storms. They were resistance. Darkness does not fight what is empty. It fights what carries light. You wondered why your journey felt harder than others. You questioned why doors opened for people around you, while your path seemed filled with delays and opposition. You compared your struggles to those who appeared to walk freely, and it made you feel forgotten. But chosen one, your path required strength that comfort could never build. The battles you fought in silence were shaping weapons within your spirit. Every tear you wiped away alone was forging endurance. Every moment you felt like giving up, but kept moving forward, was sharpening authority inside your soul. You survived attacks that were meant to break your identity. You carried pressure that was meant to crush your faith in your own purpose. There were moments when even you did not recognize yourself anymore. The exhaustion made you question if you were losing who you were meant to be. But you were not losing yourself. You were shedding weakness. There were assignments placed against your peace because your future carries influence. Your voice carries healing. Your presence shifts atmospheres, and forces that thrive in darkness fear anything that exposes them simply by existing. That is why your tests felt personal. That is why your storms felt targeted. That is why your loneliness felt deeper than words could explain. Yet, through every unseen war, you are still standing. You are still breathing. You are still searching for meaning despite the scars you carry. That alone is proof that what lives inside you cannot be easily destroyed. You may not realize it yet, but those silent battles trained you to hear whispers others cannot hear. They strengthened your discernment. They taught you how to stand when everything around you collapses. They prepared your spirit to carry responsibility that would have crushed the version of you from before. Chosen one, your survival was never accidental. Every attack that failed against you confirmed that your calling is guarded by something greater than the forces trying to stop it. One day, the strength you built in private pain will become the testimony that frees others from their hidden wars. One day, the battles you fought without applause will become the foundation of your authority. And when you finally step into what you were created to do, you will realize something powerful. The darkness never attacked you because you were weak. It attacked you because it feared who you were becoming. And still you rise. Chosen one, the silence around you was never meant to break you. You called it loneliness. You called it abandonment. You called it being forgotten. But I called it preparation. There was a time when your life was filled with noise of constant voices, constant opinions, constant distractions pulling your spirit in different directions. You were surrounded by people, yet still searching for meaning. You laughed in crowded rooms, but felt unseen in the deepest parts of your heart. And when those crowds slowly faded, when the messages stopped, when the invitations disappeared, you thought something was wrong with you. You wondered why your world suddenly became quiet. What you did not realize was that noise was drowning out my voice. Isolation was never meant to feel comfortable. It was meant to clear the space around you so you could finally hear what your spirit had been trying to tell you all along. There were lessons you could not learn in crowded places. There was strength that could only be built when you had no one to lean on except your faith and the voice inside guiding you forward. I pulled you away from familiar environments because your assignment required focus. There were gifts sleeping inside you that needed silence to awaken. There were instincts forming within your spirit that could only develop when you stopped relying on external validation. You thought you were losing connections, but you were gaining clarity. The long days alone forced you to confront parts of yourself you had been avoiding. The quiet nights made you face your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. You cried tears that felt endless. You questioned your identity. You wondered if anyone truly understood you. And in those moments, I was training you. You were learning how to stand emotionally without depending on approval. You were learning how to trust your spiritual instincts instead of the comfort of familiarity. You were learning how to find peace within yourself instead of chasing it from others. These lessons are not learned in crowds, they are mastered in solitude. Isolation also protected you. There were influences around you that would have diluted your growth. There were distractions disguised as opportunities that would have delayed your purpose. If you had remained surrounded by constant noise, you would have never discovered the power of your own spiritual voice. Chosen one, solitude is where transformation breathes. The version of you that is emerging now is more aware, more sensitive to truth, more connected to purpose. You are beginning to notice things you once ignored. You are sensing energies, intentions, and directions with clarity that surprises even you. That awareness was born in the very isolation you once feared. You are not being hidden because you are unworthy. You are being developed because you are necessary. Great assignments require deep preparation. Strong foundations are built where no one is watching. The world often celebrates public success, but rarely sees the private training that makes it possible. Your isolation has been building emotional endurance, spiritual intelligence, and inner authority that will one day guide others who feel lost in their own silence. One day, you will step out of this season stronger than you imagined possible. You will carry wisdom that cannot be taught in comfort. You will speak with understanding that only solitude could create. You were never abandoned, chosen one. You were being prepared for a destiny that requires a soul trained in silence, and strengthened in solitude. Chosen one, the wounds you carry from betrayal were never meant to destroy you. You remember the moments clearly, don't you? The voices that once comforted you turning cold, the hands you trusted, letting go when you needed them most. The promises spoken with conviction, fading into silence without explanation. You gave loyalty without hesitation. You defended people who later questioned your worth. You stood beside hearts you believed were safe, only to discover they carried hidden storms against you. Each betrayal cut deeper than the last, not just because of what they did, but because of who they were to you. You asked why trust always seemed to lead to pain. You wondered why your kindness felt like a weakness. You questioned if opening your heart was ever worth the risk. But listen carefully. Chosen one, those betrayals were shaping something powerful inside you. Authority is not born through comfort. It is formed through survival. Every time someone broke your trust, you were forced to rebuild yourself from the inside out. You learned how to stand when emotional ground beneath you collapsed. You discovered strength in parts of your spirit you never knew existed. The pain sharpened your awareness. The disappointment strengthened your discernment. Before those betrayals, your heart was open, but it was unguarded. You trusted easily, believed quickly, and overlooked warning signs because your intentions were pure. Betrayal did not harden your heart, it refined it. It taught you the difference between love and illusion, loyalty and convenience, truth and performance. You thought betrayal was a sign that you were losing people, but it was a sign that you were outgrowing environments that could not honor your destiny. There were people who were comfortable with the version of you that was unsure, quiet, and easily influenced. But the moment your spirit began to awaken, the moment your confidence began to grow, their comfort turned into resistance. Your growth exposed insecurities they refused to confront within themselves. Their betrayal was not proof that you were unworthy. It was proof that your transformation made them uncomfortable. Chosen one, every betrayal you survived built authority over your own life. You are no longer easily manipulated by empty words. You no longer confuse attention with genuine connection. You have developed emotional intelligence that allows you to recognize truth beneath appearances. That awareness is power. Authority over destiny means walking forward without needing validation from those who once rejected you. It means trusting your instincts, even when others question your direction. It means knowing your value without waiting for approval. Those betrayals also built compassion within you. You understand pain in ways many people cannot. You recognize silent suffering in others because you have lived through it yourself. One day, your voice will carry healing precisely because it carries experience. Understand this, chosen one. The betrayals that nearly broke your spirit were actually strengthening your throne. They were teaching you how to protect your peace, guard your purpose, and stand firmly in the identity being formed within you. You survived abandonment that was meant to shatter your confidence. You endured heartbreak that was meant to distract you from your calling. And yet, here you are, stronger, wiser, and more spiritually aware than before. Your destiny was never weakened by betrayal. It was authorized by it. Walk forward knowing this truth. Nothing they did to hurt you had the power to cancel what was placed over your life. If anything, it confirmed that your path carries significance strong enough to provoke resistance and sacred enough to survive it. Chosen one, you have felt it, haven't you? The sudden heaviness, the unexpected resistance, the strange series of obstacles appearing all at once. You began to wonder why life became harder the moment you started moving forward. You questioned why progress seemed to invite pressure. Just when you thought clarity was forming, confusion tried to surround you. Just when hope started rising, discouragement knocked louder than ever before. You thought you were falling apart, but you were actually breaking through. Understand this: chosen one, warfare intensifies when destiny is within reach. Storms do not gather around empty ground. They gather around movement, around transformation, around moments where something powerful is about to be born. You have been walking through a season where everything feels amplified. Small problems feel larger. Emotional battles feel heavier. People who once ignored you suddenly react to your presence. Situations that seemed stable begin to shake without warning. And in the middle of it all, you feel exhausted, confused, and tempted to stop moving forward. But listen carefully. This is not destruction. This is resistance to your elevation. There are shifts happening within you that cannot be reversed. Your mindset is changing. Your spiritual awareness is expanding. Your confidence is growing quietly, even if you do not fully recognize it yet. And every level of growth you step into threatens forces that were comfortable when you doubted yourself. You began questioning old patterns. You started seeing through illusions. You started feeling a pull towards something greater than survival. That is when opposition increased. Chosen one, breakthroughs are rarely peaceful arrivals. They are often surrounded by chaos, distractions, and emotional tests designed to convince you that you are not ready, not capable, or not worthy of what lies ahead. The closer you get to transformation, the louder those voices of fear try to speak. You may have noticed how challenges began stacking on top of each other. Financial stress, emotional fatigue, relationship conflicts, mental battles, all appearing at once, as if life was trying to overwhelm you completely. You asked yourself, why now? Why everything at the same time? Because you are closer than you think. Pressure increases when something valuable is about to emerge. Diamonds are formed under weight. Strength is born through resistance. And the version of you preparing to step into your purpose requires endurance that comfort could never build. You have survived days where giving up felt easier than standing strong. You have pushed forward while carrying silent fears no one around you could see. You have cried prayers that felt unanswered. Yet, something inside you kept whispering, keep going. That whisper is not weakness. That whisper is direction. Chosen one, breakthroughs are dangerous to the limitations that once defined your life. They disrupt cycles. They expose truth. They force you into spaces where your gifts can no longer stay hidden. And anything that benefits from your doubt will always resist your growth. But hear this clearly. You are not under attack because you are failing. You are under pressure because you are advancing. The warfare around you is not evidence that you are losing. It is confirmation that something powerful is unfolding. Do not measure your progress by the intensity of your struggles. Measure it by your survival through them. You are still standing, still believing, still searching for light, even when darkness feels louder. Your breakthrough is not distant. It is forming in the middle of this battle. Hold your ground, chosen one. The pressure you feel is not the end of your story. It is the final resistance before the door you have been praying for begins to open. Chosen one, you have often wondered why your journey feels so different, why your road feels longer, why your circle feels smaller, why your heart feels like it carries stories no one around you fully understands. You have watched others walk surrounded by crowds, supported by constant companionship, celebrated openly and frequently. And there were moments when you asked yourself, why does my path feel so quiet? Why does my life feel like a journey I must walk mostly alone? You thought loneliness meant something was missing, but it was actually revealing something sacred. Your path feels lonely because your assignment was never designed to be ordinary. The weight of your purpose requires focus that crowds often disrupt. The direction you are being guided toward demands clarity that constant noise cannot provide. You are not being separated because you are unwanted. You are being positioned because your destiny requires precision. There are callings that grow in public spaces, and there are callings that are formed in sacred solitude. Yours is the kind that must first be built where few can follow. You carry sensitivity in your spirit that allows you to feel deeply, to see beyond surfaces, to sense emotions and truths others overlook. That sensitivity is a gift, but it also means your environment must be carefully shaped. Too many voices would cloud your intuition. Too many opinions would pull your spirit away from the path meant specifically for you. You have noticed it, haven't you? Even when surrounded by people, part of your soul still feels set apart. Conversations sometimes feel shallow to your heart. Environments that excite others sometimes drain your energy. You tried to fit into spaces that looked normal, hoping the feeling of difference would fade. But no matter how hard you tried, something inside you kept reminding you that you were not meant to live within ordinary patterns. That difference is not a flaw. It is a signpost pointing toward your assignment. Chosen one, extraordinary paths often begin with isolation, because greatness requires transformation before recognition. The world celebrates finished victories, but rarely understands the private molding that shapes those victories. Your journey has been sculpting emotional endurance, spiritual awareness, and inner strength that cannot be taught in comfortable environments. There are responsibilities waiting for you that demand maturity beyond your years. There are lives you will influence that require wisdom born from experience, not theory. There are moments ahead where your voice will carry guidance for people lost in confusion, and that authority is being developed through every lonely mile you walk today. Your loneliness is not emptiness, it is training ground. You are learning how to stand firm in your identity without depending on approval. You are learning how to trust your instincts, even when others question your direction. You are learning how to walk with confidence, even when applause is absent. These lessons are preparing you for moments when you must lead, speak, and stand strong while others look to you for direction. One day, you will meet people aligned with your spirit, people who recognize your depth, people who honor your purpose rather than question it. But before those connections arrive, you must become fully anchored in who you are meant to be. Chosen one, ordinary paths offer comfort. Extraordinary paths offer legacy. Your journey feels lonely not because you were forgotten, but because you were selected for something rare, something meaningful, something that requires courage most people never develop. Walk forward without fear of your difference. The silence around your path is not absence. It is sacred space being cleared for a destiny that will echo far beyond this season of solitude. Chosen one, there were moments when you were certain everything was falling apart. Moments when the storm around your life felt too strong to survive. Moments when loss, confusion, and pain surrounded you so completely that you believed defeat was inevitable. You looked at the damage, the broken plans, the people who left, the opportunities that collapsed, and you whispered to yourself, "I'm losing everything." But what you could not see was what was standing between you and total destruction. I was there. You remember that night when fear wrapped around your thoughts so tightly that you could barely breathe. You remember the season when your heart felt crushed under betrayal and disappointment. You remember the time when your future looked uncertain and your strength felt completely drained. You believed you were one step away from collapse. Yet somehow you made it through. That was not luck. That was not coincidence. That was protection. There were dangers you never noticed that I quietly redirected. There were betrayals that could have cut deeper, but I softened their impact. There were decisions you almost made that would have led you into darker seasons, but something inside you whispered, "Wait," or "Walk away." That whisper was not doubt, it was guidance. Chosen one, storms often make protection invisible. When rain is falling and winds are loud, it is difficult to recognize the shield standing around you. You focus on what you lost without realizing what you were spared from losing. There were times when doors slammed shut, and you cried because you thought your future was being taken from you. But those closed doors were barriers preventing you from stepping into places that would have stolen your peace, your purpose, and your identity. There were relationships that ended suddenly, leaving wounds in your heart. You mourned them deeply, believing you had lost something irreplaceable. But those separations removed influences that would have slowly dimmed your spirit and distracted you from your calling. Even in your lowest moments, you were being guarded. You survived emotional battles that should have broken your confidence. You survived mental battles that tried to convince you to give up entirely. You survived circumstances that looked impossible to overcome. And even when you felt weak, something kept holding you upright when you should have fallen. That strength was never yours alone. It was divine covering surrounding your life. Protection does not always remove storms. Sometimes it walks with you through them. Sometimes it allows the rain to fall, but refuses to let the flood consume you. Every scar you carry today is evidence that the storm touched you, but did not take you. Chosen one, your survival is not ordinary. There is purpose attached to the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still searching for meaning despite everything that tried to silence your spirit. Your story continues because your assignment is not finished. One day, you will look back and see the patterns clearly. You will recognize how danger passed close to you but never captured you. You will understand how losses redirected you toward paths you were always meant to walk. You thought you were barely surviving, but you were being carefully preserved. Walk forward without fear, chosen one. The same protection that carried you through storms you thought would destroy you is still surrounding your life. And it will continue to guide you, not only through battles, but toward the destiny that has been guarded for you since the beginning. There is a moment, chosen one, when the pieces begin to shift inside your soul. A moment when the pain you carried no longer feels meaningless. A moment when the tears you cried in silence begin to form a pattern you could not see before. You start remembering the nights you begged for relief, and suddenly you realize those nights built a strength you now depend on. You remember the betrayals that shattered your trust, and now you see how they sharpened your discernment. You remember the doors that closed in your face, and now you recognize they redirected you away from paths that would have quietly destroyed your spirit. Something is awakening inside you. You are beginning to understand that your suffering was not random. It was preparation. Every delay trained your patience. Every rejection trained your resilience. Every lonely season trained your ability to stand when no one else stands beside you. You were being built for a weight your past self could never have carried. And now you feel it, don't you? That quiet shift in your spirit. That growing awareness that you survived things that should have ended your story. That strange, unexplainable feeling that something bigger is unfolding. That is destiny beginning to breathe through your pain. You thought you were being punished, but you were being positioned. There were dangers circling your life that you never noticed. There were traps disguised as blessings that you almost stepped into. There were people who smiled while secretly hoping you would remain small, remain doubtful, remain unaware of your power. And while you mourned what you lost, unseen protection was guiding your steps, closing doors you were too hurt to close yourself, removing burdens you were too loyal to release. You were not abandoned in your suffering. You were escorted through it. The storms you endured were shaping your vision. The pressure you felt was activating gifts hidden beneath your fear. Every scar became a key unlocking deeper wisdom inside your spirit. And now, you stand at a place where your pain is no longer just a memory. It is becoming a message. You are starting to walk differently. You are starting to think differently. You are starting to sense that your survival was never accidental. Your destiny is not approaching quietly anymore. It is rising. It is stirring your courage. It is pulling you out of old identities that were built around survival and pushing you toward purpose that demands boldness. Feel the intensity of this moment, chosen one. The confusion is turning into clarity. The wounds are turning into authority. The tears are turning into vision. Everything you endured is gathering into one powerful truth. You were never being broken. You were being prepared for activation. Stand still and recognize it. The pain that once made you question your worth is now proving your strength. The darkness that once surrounded you is now revealing the light growing within you. And the journey you thought was tearing your life apart is actually assembling the destiny that has been waiting for you to finally step into it. Chosen one, lift your head. The battles you thought broke you have only made you stronger. The storms you believed would drown you have been carrying you forward. Every tear, every struggle, every moment you felt alone, I was there. I never left. I never abandoned you. I have been guiding your steps, guarding your heart, and preparing your spirit for the moment you are standing in right now. You are no longer the same. You are stronger. You are wiser. You are armed with a faith that cannot be shaken and a purpose that cannot be stolen. The chains that tried to hold you down are broken. The doors that once closed are now opening toward your destiny. Rise, chosen one. Step forward with courage. Your victory is not coming, it is here. Your life is marked by purpose. Your future is unstoppable. Your God is with you.